Now, we're going to make tea for the gallant cricketers. And although, you know, tea usually has sort of cakes and stuff, I'm all for having something savoury as well. So I'm going to do these, they're sort of gentleman's savoury pastries. And Clarissa's going to make some rather smart royal sandwiches. But to start this one over, I've already got some sifted flour in the bowl. And then I'm going to put in a pinch of cayenne pepper, depending how hot you want it. Then I get the butter, cut that in. Then we want to put some Parmesan cheese, which is always good. You know, it's rather like a cheese straw base. Mix that in. An egg yolk. Some pepper. And salt. And then we'll just rub it in. Crumble it like breadcrumbs.
What are they called, your funny things you're making?
I think I call them gentlemen's savoury delights.
Ah.
I think the ladies can have a dig in as well.
Oh, well, I'll have the gentleman then, shall I?
Can't have you savaging the men.
Oh, you're so respectable, dear. Such a lovely meal, tea.
Tea is it really rather gone out of fashion now, hasn't it? But it is nice, especially if it's all laid out beautifully. I think I need some water in this.
Are you fussy about what teas you drink?
No, not at all. At least I am. I like it to be good, cheap builder's tea. Good, strong Indian. Because I never drank a cup of tea until I was about 45, and I got jaundice. And I was in this extraordinary Dickensian hospital. I rather adored it, overlooking Brampton Cemetery. and all they gave you was tea. All they gave you was this strong tea, and I've liked it ever since.
Yes, I quite like a strong Indian myself, now and again.
I think it's wonderful. Now then, I've got to put this in the refrigerator for 30 minutes, because that always helps pastry. It makes it much nicer.
I'm going to make Queen Alexandra's favourite sandwiches. That wonderful woman was the wife of Edward VII. And if you think of tea ceremonies, tea parties, you think really of the Edwardian age with those lovely footmen carrying out the silver trays and the little dainty sandwiches. And this is, of course, the definitive Edwardian sandwich. Edwardian sandwiches were very thin. And what I'm making here is some mustard butter, which is a very useful thing to have about. I just put in some unsalted butter and some French mustard and a squeeze of lemon juice, and I've mixed it all together until it's soft and in a paste. And you can make it, you can keep it in the fridge or the larder and use it whenever you want to for sandwiches. And I've got here some poached chicken. You can obviously use cold roast chicken or any cold chicken you happen to have. Even not, just go out and buy a couple of chicken breasts and either poach them in a little stock or even grill them, and then mince it up quite finely. And a bit of mayonnaise, that's all you want. A bit of mayonnaise to bind it. She was a splendid woman, Princess Alexandra. When Edward VII was dying, she sent for his favourite mistress
There he is.
to attend him, Mrs. Keppel. That's what I call style.
That's style indeed.
No, silly modern stuff.
She was Camilla's great-great-grandmother or something, wasn't she?
That's right.
Runs in the family.
Probably, yes. And a touch of Tabasco. Dear old Tabasco.
What would we do without it?
Exactly. There we are. And now, let's get some bread, some brown bread. A very good tip for slicing brown bread very thinly is if you don't want terribly fresh bread, it has to be yesterday's to get it really thin. And put your knife in a jug of hot water and then slice it. And it will cut really thin. I was given that tip, actually, by somebody who used to be a lady's maid. She used to make those wonderful, thin boudoir sandwiches.
That's a very good tip. I didn't know about that.
And spread your butter quite liberally. And then onto one slice, I'm just going to put a little of the minced chicken and spread it about.
Quite a good hefty sandwich this is going to be.
Well, you're going to cut it into dainty little bits. And on the other one, you put a slice of tongue. It's wonderful stuffed tongue. Everybody forgets about tongue. This is ox tongue, but you could also use lamb's tongue.
They're very reasonable, a whole tongue. A whole tongue feeds a lot of people, and it doesn't cost much.
No, it doesn't, and it's very easy to cook. And then a little cress sprinkled onto your...
Grown on the flannel.
Grown on the flannel. Do you remember that? Wasn't that fun? I used to be fascinated by that. And then you just put the two together, press them down well, and cut the crusts off. Never have crusts on an Edwardian sandwich. What else would you give to the poor?
But on the other hand, Nanny would say, they who don't eat their crust won't have curly hair.
Well, no doubt all the Edwardian poor had very curly hair. And then you just want to cut it across. You can have squares or triangles, whichever the mood takes you, really.
Oh, triangles, I think.
Very good. And again. And shall we cut it again? Yes, I think so. There you are. Dear little boudoir sandwiches. What are you up to next?
Well, I think I'll go get my pastry out of the refrigerator. It must be cold enough now. Yeah, this is chilled enough. Now, what we want to do is we must roll this as thin as we can, because we then have to roll it up like a roly-poly pudding.
And what's your favourite sandwich?
I wonder. I think a very good ham sandwich is excellent. You know, if it's delicious, proper ham.
Oh, yes, absolutely. If the proper ham,
yes,
on the bone with a bit of fat.
Really sort of moist and delicious.
But
the tongue is very good, too. But I tell you what I also like, which is not very social, is onion and mayonnaise.
Oh,
just
yes.
Raw onion. We used to eat them by the swimming pool in Berlin.
Surrounded by all your handsome young men in uniform.
All the hussars, God bless them. I'll just trim off some of these rather untidy bits. Now, what we're going to do is spread it with lovely gentleman's relish, which I adore. It's made of anchovies. And it's very good for breakfast. I love it for breakfast. I like strong-tasting things, not your wishy-washy cereals. I think a good strong taste in the morning is, you know, wakes up the buds. You put a good spreading of this all over. Now we spread it with Dijon mustard on top of the relish. Now we want to put some more parmesan. Scatter it over. And next we put on some daintily chopped chives, which will make it look pretty, as well as tasting good.
Be nice for cocktail parties.
Yeah, it would perfectly good.
Or a picnic.
Yeah, because you can pack them into cans and they stay nice. Now, what I want to do is really... You don't have to worry about it looking terribly tidy. You see, it's getting better as you go along.
Yes, quite.
You've got this sort of sausage shape, and what I should be doing is putting it back in the refrigerator for another 4 to 5 minutes. That'll firm it up. But as I want to show you what to do, I'll do it now. You cut it into rings. There. Now, we need a baking tray. And you put the little dears on.
Look very nice. The chives look pretty, don't they?
Yes.
Give it a touch of colour.
Now I'm going to put them in the oven for about 7 minutes. That's all they'll take.
Top right, is it, Sanaga?
Yes, because it's hot and I want them to be hot.